want to do a short explanation on a couple of other videos that I've already got posted onto my YouTube page here, and I'll be putting them on my blog site as well. Although I'm still, what the hell? My videos are getting taken down off of there. But then again, I've got an automatic email reply coming out of my email for my corporation right now after I requested the relinquishment of my New York State Certified Disabled Veteran-Owned Business certificate. Yeah. So now that I'm no longer in that database, what I wanted to do was go ahead and send out automatic emails to let any state contractors know who I believe are just absolutely corrupt with the Cuomo administration here in New York State. It's evidenced in who's getting the largest contracts and who's donating to his campaign and the campaign of the persons that are of a similar political mindset here in New York. So the large contractors are just dumping campaign dollars into the super PACs in New York State to get representatives elected or reelected, in Cuomo's case, so that way they can continue to get the large government contracts. And New York State this year was slated to spend more than it has, I think, in the last 2 years combined or 3 years combined. It was a huge initiative to build up more of the infrastructure for the public education that will be going towards educating, free education for illegal immigrants, and economic development initiatives that are linked to these campuses uh, with state funding. Like they've got a ton of names. There's about 30 different things. I just got a survey yesterday from Syracuse University about veteran-owned businesses, and it was a long survey. It said 45 minutes, depending on how long your answers are, how you answer. And I spent 2.5 hours on it actually, and still didn't really get my point across. I don't believe for the reality of entrepreneurship in this nation, let alone veteran entrepreneurship, which is a different issue. Because I believe there is an active persecution of combat veterans going on. There's I believe, a network of bad actors throughout the nation who are going after anybody that served this nation in the war on terror, in Operation Enduring Freedom or Operation Iraqi Freedom, or anybody that were supporters of that, or conservative persons and organizations as well. So there's a lot of interesting things that have happened over the last 12 years, and going back further than that. But uh, that's a different video, and I'd like to have more evidence and be able to give some statistics for that. Unfortunately, if you go online, it's very difficult to get any statistics. Well, some interesting ones that I did find were the SBA, where their loan activities increased by 92% in the regular lending aspects of their activity. And for veterans, where there were special initiatives, extra funding, extra nonprofits set up, and avenues for veterans to be able to get lower rate financing for their businesses. And over the last 5 years, no, actually it's 10 years. Over the last 10 years, their loan activity increased 92% for regular lending and only 42% for veteran lending, despite all that extra money that they were told to spend and to push into the veteran community for, business development. So that tells you right there, they're obviously neglecting or being incompetent or actively subverting the veteran community, which is what I believe is going on in this country, given a number of things. I mean, General Flynn is just one. That was more of an attack directly on Trump, but it just goes to show you that combat veterans are targets of bad actors in our nation. These bad actors are in positions of power. They're bureaucrats, they're representatives, they work in state government, they work in all kinds of places. Specifically back to the New York issues here. some of the stuff that's going on is just really, really insane. You know, the largest contractors with the state government of New York are the largest donors to the political campaigns. You know, and they can do that in a number of ways now. Our campaign contribution laws are basically rubber membrane. I mean, they're just completely ineffective in the intention of, you know, keeping politicians working for the people. They're wholly ineffective. Absolutely a disgrace right now. There's nothing American about the way we finance campaigns. There is nothing American about the way the corruption works once they get into office and the pay to play. It's just evidenced over and over and over and over again. And here in New York specifically, because of the prevalence of illegal voting, these people are allowed to remain in office and to continue the cycle of pay to play and corrupt campaign contributions and the theft of taxpayer dollars. It's really unfortunate because this could be a really great state. It could be a state that leads the nation in innovation, that leads the nation in confronting social issues that can actually be solved, and not with socialist style initiatives or agendas or techniques. You don't need that sort of thing. Really, in America, what it's all about is liberty, and it's all about individuals being able to function together in communities without being steered in one direction or another. And so the survey that I got was really interesting because of the way the questions were formulated, and a lot of them were either state your level of agreement or disagreement, or not applicable, or no opinion one way or the other. So neutral, strongly agree, or disagree. Um, but other than that, there were also several leading questions where the options really boxed you in to being a victim. So things like, what would you say the largest barriers to your ability to get capital for your business were? And the answers that were options, you know, were things like personal problems, credit history, um, lack of ability, you know, lack of understanding of the process for applying for loans, all these things that really self-victimize if you choose those types of answers to the questions. So a lot of the questions, there was an option to actually do other and then write in your response. So continuously on this 2.5 hour adventure I had for the Syracuse University veteran business survey, where of course the big headline, we care about veterans, we want to help your business, we want to do this and that. I had to select the other option and then write in an answer and explain that the legal system does not function as the rule of law in this nation. It actually excludes citizens from the process of being able to seek justice, and that the mechanisms that have been funded with public dollars or subsidized through tax breaks, and you know, as a nonprofit, you're shielded from having to comply with so many of the regulations that regular businesses that actually operate to create the economy and the market conditions and satisfy needs of the community. You know, those businesses have all these regulatory restrictions placed on them and pecuniary considerations that are required in order to engage in commerce, where these nonprofits don't have that. And so one part in that survey, it had uh, a question about who did you get any assistance from these organizations, and it just listed over and over and over and over and over all these different names for all these business development nonprofits where people are employed on tax dollar subsidies, I mean payments, and also, you know, tax sheltered entity existence. They're allowed to conduct commercial enterprise without being subject to the regulations and fees and pecuniary considerations that normal businesses have. And it was amazing to have a list of 20 different types of these same things that are all based out of universities. So, and state colleges, the SUNY systems and things. Very interestingly, the the rector, the head, the CEO or the president, whatever you want to call the person of the SUNY systems here in New York, is compensated to the tune of about $800,000 a year, and also provided with about $500,000 worth of benefits, including primary and secondary housing, transportation, chauffeurs, on and on and on, meals, per diem for travel, uh, free hotel stays to be able to go out and interact with whoever. I mean, it's all just a big robbery. So over $1.3 million a year of tax dollars in New York are going to the head of the SUNY system's education uh, department for New York, and that's your money. That's your tax dollars. And make this make sense, I'll tell you the highest paid New York State employee is a guy named Thomas Quattro Jr. And I think that's a name I've heard in the news several times. I try not to pay attention and muddle up my thinking with memorizing too many people's names and exactly what they do or how nefarious they are. It's better to maintain like a vagueness, I think, so that way you don't get hyper focused or emotional or passionate about singular issues, and maintain a broad spectrum perspective, where you can step back and just look at really the ball, the nest of how our society is organized and being shaped by policies. So anyway, this guy makes $846,000 a year as the head CEO. This is 2018, I'm quoting, and this is available online. You can just look up New York State employees, and then it will show you. You just go ahead and sort by the highest dollar amount, by names and things like that. Ed McMahon has a great website set up, and I believe he's an excellent economist who's appeared before the New York State legislature several times to advise them, and his advice is always the same, and they don't listen to it. Same thing as economic development uh, uh, doctrine that is put out by state, by nonprofits, and by the federal government and the Department of Defense, economic adjustment um, guides, all those. If you read through all that stuff, you'll see that what they recommend is local, community, small niche activity that is supported by resources from above if those resources exist. So instead, what all these comprehensive economic development people do is they push up their needs and just say, "Can you help us?" And then down comes funding for another nonprofit in a university system. So the Ed McMahon guy has all these payrolls. So the highest paid Quattro guy in New York State, highest paid employee 2018, $846,000, and he was the head CEO of medical chain, whatever you want to call it, a medical. Yeah, I believe it's a health system. So everything's centralizing right now in healthcare. They'll put 12 hospitals together, call it a health system with whatever name, Jones, Fruki Dookie, Abaluki, Mozark, or whatever it is. They're all over the place. And what it does is it limits access to care, allows insurance companies to interface directly with just that system and exploit the American citizen, really, through reducing benefits. Anybody that's got a healthcare plan in the last 10 years have been in the business where their job provided one, unlike myself. I mean, the military did, but I didn't get any healthcare. I was treated like shit. It was total bullshit. So I don't know, go ahead, join the military if you want, but just expect that you're going to be treated like garbage. When you go as a self-sacrifice. That's what I did. I knew when I went, I expected to be killed in Afghanistan as a truck driver. Luckily, I made it back, or unluckily, I don't know. Life sucked since then, but there again, we're getting persecuted by bad actors. So, uh, yeah, I just was blown away with the amount of money they spend, and how they ignore the guides for comprehensive economic development. And they don't follow any of the guides. If you read the economic development plans, the comprehensive economic development uh, uh, published documentation, they all say the same thing over the last 10 years. So wherever you go, you'll see that they say the exact same things over and over and over. And what they're doing to create change is the same thing that hasn't worked for 10 years. So they're just wasting your tax dollars on nonprofits. And it's a travesty, and it needs to stop. immediately.